The world never announces itself when it is about to change you. There is no formal letter, no urgent alert flashing across the screen of your phone. One moment, you are sitting in the fading light of a Tuesday afternoon, your hand resting on the arm of a chair you have owned for 7 years, and then, something shifts. It is not a change in your surroundings, but something far more intimate, a quiet rearrangement of the furniture inside the room of your skull. And you do not even notice it happening, because your attention is elsewhere, on what you will have for dinner, on replaying a clumsy conversation from 3 days ago, or on wondering why they have not texted you back. Yet in that unremarkable moment, beneath the surface noise of your own inner monologue, your brain has just done something extraordinary. Something that, for most of human history, remained completely invisible to the person in whom it was occurring. And that is the first secret: your brain is keeping a diary, and you are not the one holding the pen. We like to believe we are the authors of our own minds. That the voice narrating our day, the one that sounds like us, that critiques, plans, worries, and celebrates, is the captain of the ship. But the truth is both stranger and more humbling. That voice? It is more like a passenger who was handed the map after the journey had already begun. What you are about to experience, if you allow yourself to go there, is the slow, deliberate unraveling of that illusion. Not through philosophy or self-help books, but through something far more ancient and far more precise, a mirror held up to the machinery of your own consciousness. And here is the thing about mirrors: when you gaze into one long enough, you eventually stop seeing your face and begin to perceive the mechanism of seeing itself. That is the territory we are entering. Not just what you think, but the very act of thinking. Not just the memory, but the architecture that constructs it. And once you see it, once you truly feel it, you cannot unsee it. Because your brain, for all its mystery, is about to be compelled to show you exactly what it is made of. Imagine, for a moment, that you are sitting in a dark theater. The screen before you is blank, but you can hear the faint hum of the projector warming up. You are waiting for the movie to start, the one you came to see, with familiar actors and a predictable plot. But instead, a different kind of image flickers to life. It is not a story about someone else. It is a story about you. And not the polished, edited version you recount at dinner parties. It is the raw footage, the moment you tripped on the sidewalk last year and pretended it was intentional, the sound of your own voice saying something you regretted before you could stop it, the shape of a childhood room you have not thought about in decades, suddenly rendered in such vivid detail that you can almost smell the carpet. This is not a memory exercise. This is what happens when the lens turns inward with enough precision. Your brain, you see, has spent your entire life building a vast library of maps, maps of the world, maps of your relationships, maps of who you are and who you are not. But those maps are not reality. They are simplifications, useful fictions that help you navigate a chaotic world without being overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information flooding your senses every second. And that is the first real crack in the wall. Because if those maps are simplifications, then who is doing the simplifying? And more importantly, what happens when you realize that you have the power to redraw them? There is a reason we speak of the mind as if it were a fortress, with walls and gates and a central command. But in truth, it is more like a coral reef, a living, breathing ecosystem built slowly over time by countless tiny creatures, each operating beneath the threshold of awareness. Your thoughts, your habits, your fears, your quietest hopes, they are all structures that were built, layer by layer, often without your explicit permission. And just like a coral reef, they can grow into beautiful, intricate patterns, or they can become brittle and break. But here is the secret that experts know, the one that changes everything: the reef can be reshaped. Not through force, not through willpower alone, but through a kind of patient, attentive curiosity that most of us have never been taught to apply to the contents of our own skull. You are going to feel it soon. That strange sensation of something coming into focus. It might begin as a simple question, one you have never actually asked yourself with genuine intent. What is the shape of the space between one thought and the next? Not the thoughts themselves, the space. If you try to grasp it, it vanishes. If you name it, it becomes something else. But if you simply sit in it, with no agenda, something begins to happen. The machinery slows down. The frantic chattering voice that tells you are not doing enough, not being enough, not feeling enough. It does not disappear, but it becomes background noise. And for a moment, you are not the noise. You are the space. And in that space, there is a kind of freedom that no external circumstance can give you and no external circumstance can take away. This is not mysticism. It is neuroscience meeting direct experience. It is the moment when the brain, which has been running its programs on autopilot since you woke up this morning, is finally given a different instruction: pause. Just for a second. And in that pause, the secret it has been hiding in plain sight begins to surface. What is that secret? It is not a single fact you can write down on a sticky note. It is an experience. It is the recognition that the story you have been telling yourself about who you are, the one with the protagonist, the setbacks, the triumphs, the endless internal monologue, is not actually you. It is a story. A brilliant, complex, often beautiful story, but a story nonetheless. And the part of you that can notice the story? That part is older, deeper, more fundamental than any story could ever be. In the world of filmmaking, they call it the frame. The image on the screen changes constantly: joy, sorrow, terror, peace, but the screen itself remains untouched. It holds everything and is changed by nothing. You are not the image. You are the screen. And for most of your life, you have been so captivated by the images that you forgot the screen was even there. There is a reason this is so difficult to see. Your brain is, quite literally, designed to prevent you from seeing it. Evolution did not shape your neural architecture to give you a sense of cosmic unity or existential clarity. Evolution shaped your brain to keep you alive long enough to pass on your genes. To do that, it built a relentless narrative engine, one that constantly scans for threats, catalogs resources, predicts outcomes, and weaves all of it into a coherent story with you at the center. This is not a flaw, it is a masterpiece of biological engineering. But it is a masterpiece that comes with a hidden cost. The cost is that you mistake the map for the territory. You mistake the voice in your head for the person listening to it. And you live your entire life inside a simulation that your own brain constructed, never once realizing that you have the capacity to step outside it. But stepping outside is not a matter of effort. You cannot force your way out of your own mind by trying harder. That would be like trying to lift a chair while sitting on it. The way out is through a kind of radical permission. Permission to let the thoughts be there without chasing them. Permission to feel the feelings without needing to fix them. Permission to not know. And in that permission, something remarkable happens. The brain, when it is not being forced into a particular shape, begins to relax into its natural intelligence. And its natural intelligence is not the frantic problem solving we associate with thinking. It is a vast, open awareness, one that can hold complexity without being overwhelmed, one that can see the patterns of your own suffering without being consumed by them. This is the moment the story turns. Because up until now, you have been looking for answers outside yourself. In books, in teachers, in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next moment when everything will finally click into place. But the secret your brain has been holding, the one it shows you when you finally stop running, is that the answer is not somewhere else. It is in the very act of looking. The seeker is the sought. The one who wants to wake up is the one who is already awake, merely obscured by the noise of the wanting. You can feel this, right now. Not as a concept, but as a shift in the body. A softening. A letting go of something you did not even realize you were holding. And in that letting go, the grip of the narrative loosens just enough for you to see the space behind it. This is where we encounter the paradox that most people never get close to, because it sounds too simple. The more you try to understand your brain, the more it eludes you. But the moment you stop trying to understand it and simply pay attention to it, without judgment, without expectation, it begins to reveal itself. Not in words, but in a kind of direct knowing. You start to notice the way a thought arises from nowhere, lingers for a moment, and then dissolves back into nowhere. You notice the way an emotion is not a solid thing but a wave of sensation moving through the body, changing shape, losing intensity, fading. You notice the way you have been taking ownership of these transient phenomena, calling them my thoughts and my feelings, when in fact they are just weather patterns passing through the sky of your awareness. And then comes the deeper revelation. If you are not your thoughts, and you are not your feelings, and you are not even the voice that seems to be narrating your life, then what are you? This is the question that has driven mystics and philosophers for millennia, but it is also the question that neuroscience is now beginning to answer in its own way. The sense of a separate self, the I that seems to be located somewhere behind the eyes, running the show, this is not a thing. It is a process. A construction. A brilliantly crafted illusion generated by the brain to help you navigate a world of other selves. But the illusion is so convincing, so seamless, that you never think to question it. You go through your entire life believing you are a character in the movie, when in fact you are the entire cinema. And then, slowly, you start to see that this is the whole game. Not achieving anything, not becoming anyone, but waking up to what you already are. A presence. An awareness. A capacity to hold the full range of human experience, joy, grief, fear, love, without being broken by any of it. This is what your brain has been preparing you for your entire life, through every heartbreak, every triumph, every quiet moment you thought meant nothing. It was all leading here. Not to a conclusion, but to a beginning. To the first real step you have ever taken, not towards something, but into what already is. And as you sit with that, in the silence that follows these words, you might notice something. The voice that was narrating this story, the one you thought was me, the writer, is not the only voice in the room. There is another voice. The one that is hearing these words. The one that is noticing the weight of your body in the chair, the quality of the light in the room, the space between one breath and the next. That voice is not the one you have been listening to your whole life. It is the one that was always listening. And now, for the first time, it has your full attention.